we get started? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Welcome in, everybody. I hope that over the next, how long do I have you for? 4 or 5 hours? We're going to get through some really great stuff. No, not 4. Okay. I'm Joel Haynes. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Subject.com. I'm happy to talk a lot about Subject.com because we're building this amazing tool that students here, you as teachers, have access to at Upland. But I want to kind of do a different version of a conversation here.
So in November of 2022, this magical thing happened. ChatGPT was launched. It blew everyone's mind, answering all your questions, being your sidekick, your thought partner, your therapist, your coach. Everyone was so wondering, how would this transform every industry, especially education? A chatbot that knew everything about you and everything. How is education society going to adjust to that? And the real reason we started Subject was to be able to make the Netflix of education, premium media-centric content that helped kids get college and high school credit. At the time, we were mostly an AP platform. Well, when ChatGPT launched, that was even more revolutionary than Netflix. That took the world by storm faster than Netflix.
When ChatGPT came out, it was clear almost immediately that companies wanted to go and take advantage of the hype of ChatGPT. And I'm not saying that every wrapper is the wrong thing to do or a bad thing. Actually, when it solves a meaningful problem, it can be a great solution. But it's not a particularly difficult problem to solve. You listen to users, you try some things out, you iterate the front end. On the back end, it's just ChatGPT, or it's Gemini, or it's Grok, or whatever system is being used there. You're just basically leaning into its intrinsic knowledge. You're just making that interface a little simpler. We took a different approach. What we're going to do is we're going to talk through and try to deal with this question, this transformative technology. This isn't, in my opinion, this isn't just the internet coming into the classroom. This isn't me pulling cables and setting up the first servers and connecting the first website to Montclair High School. This is something that's changing the nature not just of how we learn, but how we're going to function as a society. It's changing the skills that are required, and it's actually going to start to shift society. Even our homework helper, which on one level could just be a wrapper. A homework helper could just be, I'm going to give students an easy interface with a little friendly icon, and they're going to type something into it, and it's going to respond and say, yeah, that's right, or no, let's unpack that a little bit more. It could even be told in its prompt to challenge the student or not give away the answers. But we weren't satisfied with that. That didn't feel like it was actually solving a meaningful problem. It was just providing easy access, but it wasn't necessarily helping students learn.
What's the real story behind the AI platform, and why did you build it?
The real story behind the AI platform. So I had the great fortune not just to build products in multiple companies, but I've worked in the tutoring space right before this, where we staffed thousands and thousands of tutors to try to support kids 24/7 around the country. And in that process, one of the things we recognized is we were building this incredible amount of information on how students learn and how to guide and support them. So we began investigations on how could we use emerging AI, this is well before ChatGPT, to start to better target supports for students, but there was this underlying kind of dissatisfaction with the limited viewpoint we had to each student. There's an example of how we can approach AI literacy in our own classrooms. So we have on one side, and I had a whole story built out, but the basic gist of it is this: if I have to respond, if I have to write an essay, is there a version of this that allows me to partner, or allows my students to partner with AI, to brainstorm ideas that get at this, and to critically think about those, to structure help as I'm writing, maybe critiquing outlines, being up here, there, and providing critical feedback and doing final polish. Was an opportunity to kind of wrap my arms around all of that. To say, hey, a student comes in and takes their entire algebra course. This isn't just that moment where they need algebra help. It's actually that primary instruction, it's the homework, the assignments, the assessment, and everything. So that data store is incredibly rich. So as I reflected on that, I reflected on this history we have in education of wanting to focus on personalized learning, something our teachers do really well in person, but in the digital online environment hasn't been so great. It was an opportunity to start to lean into these technical advancements and actually start producing something of real value, something that every student needed, which was this bespoke learning opportunity, something that understood where they are, what they needed, and how to get them to the next step at scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a level of personalization that we can now accomplish with AI that can make our courses so much more engaging, right? Not every student is going to be at the same level when they enter the classroom, especially post-COVID. So the fact that we can use AI now to vary what students see based on what they need, based on any piece of content, what a word you might not know or something, a concept you might need explained in more detail, the fact that AI has enough dexterity to give those things to the student is something that's, going to be very game-changing for education, and I think already is through Subject.ai. And, for teachers, they can make sense of so much more data in common language, right? Like, who wants to be looking at spreadsheets and tables all day when you can just have a conversation like this and learn everything that you need to know about how your students are doing and how you can help them? Because that human connection, it doesn't go away. That's still so important. So let's arm teachers with the best material that we can to help augment their human connection that they have with their kids.
It really helps teachers by being their executive assistants of sorts. I'm a CEO currently, superintendents and such, they all are incredible leaders. They get executive assistants. Oftentimes individual employees, teachers, they don't get that liberty. They don't get that luxury, that privilege of having an executive assistant. What if Subject.ai was that for you? Saves you hundreds of hours, thousands upon hours in a year by doing all the lesson planning for you, which Subject.ai can do, doing all the grading for you, Subject.ai can do. Being a data dashboard that helps you better understand your students like never before, we leverage AI to do that as well.
So we know AI literacy is going to matter. It's going to make a difference. And really what it comes down to is this idea, right? Like understanding and collaborating and shaping AI is a critical new literacy. I think it's the creative process of thinking about biology. It's the creative process of thinking about how am I going to use this in the real world.
What's the single biggest problem in education that you believe AI will fix?
It's a very simple buzzword, and that's why I don't like catering to it, but it truly is personalization. Really, every student should have the opportunity to learn what's best for them. Some students need to practice their speaking. Some people have to practice their logic. Others, their writing. Others being able to be more emotionally connected to their educators. All of these pieces can be lubricated and facilitated with AI better than ever before. And there's no excuse anymore for every student to not feel like they actually have a personalized tutor, a personalized learning management system, a personalized opportunity to be able to be the best version of themselves. With AI, we should be able to have more modular pieces of data than ever before on every single student and part of the learning journey that we can really provide that for them.
So I work very closely with our AI grading platform. So I've been working on the analytics for that. And I think the number one thing that I see in the day-to-day is really a time saving. So if you think about like a teacher's workflow and what they have to do at the course of a day, I imagine most of them have to grade a lot at the end of the day before bed. And I know personally, I know a number of teachers, and it's something that they have to do while they're watching movies or living their life. And I think we can put AI to use and to work, sort of automating some of the more tedious tasks that aren't really value add in their process. So I think saving them a lot of time and manual work so that they can focus on like curriculum development, building course plans, and spending more time with students face to face.
I would say that it's taking an industry that has historically been left behind as far as the cutting edge technology, and Subject gets to take the best of tech and really apply that to the best of education, which I think is just a huge opportunity to do something really impactful.
So we're actually combining both this incredibly rich data layer of all of our courses and content and the data itself that we've accumulated for that teacher's students, and we've put it into an agent-based infrastructure that is able to understand the question that the teacher has, to parse it out into the details and provide a much more relevant and rigorous response than any kind of wrapper would do. So these are just a few examples of how we're trying to build using the tools that are available.
Subject, if we're successful, is millions of kids every single year. If we do our job right, we could be impacting 10 million plus students a year. We're a long way from that. I want to make sure everyone's clear here. We have a long, long way to go, but think about how special that is. That type of legacy, impact, momentum, gratitude, that's unparalleled, and I've never felt that at any other space in my career. It was very exciting getting to work at some great companies like Uber and Nike and be able to impact a lot of people positively in the world. But when we're talking about helping a student graduate high school who might otherwise drop out, and knowing the life trajectory difference that that person and the people surrounding them, their husband, wife, sister, brother, friends, that's the butterfly effect of education, and why I fight so hard every day to make sure we're impacting millions of students a year, and will not stop until we hit that quota. And then I'm sure I'll want to do more.